As you exit the museum, you can see lovely views of the garden and grounds from the museum's veranda with its Georgian columns. It is hard to believe that you're still on the high street. From the right end of the veranda, you can see the small herb garden, and then in the corner of the garden is our ginkgo tree. This has wonderful fan-shaped leaves which turn a lovely orange shade in the autumn. As we move along the border, we have two monkey puzzle trees. The thick scale-like leaves are extremely sharp. The last of the large ornamental trees in the border is a Californian redwood. To the right of the garden is where the path around the grounds begins, just past the redwood by the shed. From the corner of the garden, you can see across into the meadow and you can see some of the museum beehives. As we look at the edge of the garden, you should be able to make out a row of bricks. This is part of the ha-ha. The ha-ha separates the garden from the meadow and prevents any animals in the meadow from coming into the garden. But it allows people sitting in the garden a beautiful view across the meadow into the distance without the disruption of a wall or fence. Here we can see a panel depicting the museum building as it would probably have looked at the beginning of the 19th century, with the current building in the background. Between 1798 and 1813, the residents of the house, the Reverend and Mrs. Price, laid the garden out as pleasure grounds so the family could enjoy the outdoors. It is likely they were advised on the layout by Reverend Price's brother, Sir Uvedale Price, proponent of the picturesque as a mode of landscape and critic of his contemporary Capability Brown. The Prices were responsible for the addition of the ha-ha, pond and gazebo. As we start the walk around the grounds, you can see the remains of a horse chestnut tree that blew down in 2007. In 2010, it was used as part of an art project where visitors carved animals into the wood with the help of a local artist. Now, however, nature has taken its course and it is largely rotten and probably home to many hundreds of wonderful insects and other mini beasts. Just past the fallen chestnut, the path begins to go into our wooded area. Here, as we look back the way we've come, you can see the steps which are likely to date back to the original landscaping by the Prices. As we continue, we come to the boardwalk, which is a more modern feature, as the path is on the spring line between green sand and clay and can become very muddy. From the boardwalk, you can see the beech tree, which is on our 10-tree trail. By zooming in, we can see the beech leaves and some of the beech nuts. From the bottom of the boardwalk, it's possible to see into the meadow and up towards the museum buildings. And on the other side, across to Swan Barn, the National Trust land. Continuing on along the path, we come to our ponds. The lower pond is more natural and is formed from water running out of the main pond, and the water then runs from here under the path. The main pond is on the other side of the fencing that can be seen here. As we come around the corner from the bottom path, you can see the main pond. The jetty was added in 2018 when comprehensive work was done to prevent water leaking from the pond. This was causing the water levels to drop significantly. The jetty gives us an additional place from which to pond dip. The pond has lots of wonderful life in the water, and this panel shows some examples of what can be found. During the summer, the pond often has the most beautiful lilies on it, as can be seen here. Above the pond, we have the gazebo and some more specimen trees. As you walk around the pond and up the slope, you can see the museum buildings across the meadow. So here we have a beautiful Scots pine, a large oak, and behind the gazebo a yew tree. Here we can see the construction of the gazebo with its wooden benches that allow you to sit and admire a lovely view of the pond. Here we have a closer view of one of the yew trees. As we continue along the path, you can see a traditionally laid hedge. The grounds are maintained by a group of volunteers and they learn skills from each other, including how to lay the hedge. Further on, we pass the boundary stone. This is one of 32 stones used to mark the historic parliamentary borough of Haslemere. It dates back to 1813, a time when the small town of Haslemere sent 2 representatives to the House of Commons. As we continue, we come to the top of the meadow with a gate into it, and we can see the shed housing an observation beehive, where normally during summer months you can see the bees busy inside the hive. As you can see, we are now almost back to the museum garden. As we come into the garden, you may just be able to see where the tiles above the veranda are a slightly different colour. This is where a bomb in World War II crashed into the roof. Luckily, it didn't explode and caused only a little damage. In the garden, we have 2 sundials. This is the older one, dating from 1909. This is before the introduction of British summertime, so during the summer it should be an hour out. The second sundial was installed to celebrate the Queen's Jubilee in 2002. This sundial has both GMT and British summertime, so can be read correctly all year round. As we complete the garden tour, the last object to note is our petrified tree stump. This is a piece of fossilised tree and is many millions of years old. I hope you have enjoyed this virtual tour of the museum garden, and we hope you can visit soon and see it for yourself.